All right, great. So just as a reminder, once again, thank you everyone for attending tonight's Community Board 2 General Body Meeting. Just as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded, as all of our meetings are. I would ask that everyone who is representing an elected official, either at the city or state level or even the federal level, if you would go into the chat, and at the bottom where it says "to," you have the ability to send a message to the entire group or to Brooklyn CB2, which is the host and presenter. I'd ask that you click on host and presenter, identify yourself through the chat that you are here and representing a principal, or you are the principal. That way, when it's time for us to get to the portion of the agenda where we're able to acknowledge and have you provide your updates, we'll know who to call and who's representing. So if you would do that, that would be helpful to us. I would ask that everyone, if you're not on mute, please keep your microphones on mute until you're called upon. It helps with the recording and the feedback so that there aren't any echoes or things that make the meeting distorted. And with that, again, I welcome everyone to the meeting. I'd like to introduce the vice chairs, Mr. Leonard Jordan and Ms. Barbara Zala-Gringer, who will serve as the first chair and second vice chair. We also have Ms. Jessica Thurston, who serves as our secretary. As we go through the evening and the reports are to be made, I'd ask the under committees to report. I'd ask that the respective chairs introduce themselves and also introduce your vice chair or vice chairs. With that, we'll proceed with our agenda. I've gone through item number 1, which is the welcome review and review the protocols. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve to tonight's agenda. Mr. Jordan, second. Mr. Gordon, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Is there anyone opposed to the agenda? Is there anyone that wants to abstain from the agenda? Okay, we're off to a great start. That's fantastic. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of our April 2001 meeting? If so, are there any noted corrections? Barbara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did submit a list of changes to the board office, but I just want to point out one important change under Senator Schumer's discussion. It mentions June 6th when it actually should be January 6th. So that's an important change to make sure we make. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else with any corrections or edits? Okay, great. Should you have any corrections or edits post this point in the agenda, by all means, please send them into the board office, and we'll be sure to make the correction updates in the final records. Okay, great. Next item on the agenda, item number 4, chairperson's report. So I have a couple of things I want to go over tonight. One of which is some changes in our leadership. So this is the time of the year where we have individuals who are going to reapply to serve as members of the community board. And this is where members also have the ability to say, I don't want to reapply. And to that latter extent, we have some changes that I'm going to announce. And this may be repetitive for some, so if so, excuse the repetition, but it's important to note. For the Land Use Committee, I've asked Daughtry Christophin if she would serve as a vice chair. Now, in that committee, there are no changes. Carlton will continue to serve as chair. Irene will continue to serve as vice chair. But I've also asked Daughtry to serve as an additional vice chair. I've thoroughly reviewed the bylaws, and there's nothing that prohibits me as the chairperson, or any chairperson for that matter, to announce other members to serve in capacities on the committee. And so given Daughtry's involvement, her background, and the way she has done a fine job of representing the community, I thought it would be appropriate to have Daughtry serve in that capacity. One, because of her expertise, but two, as a way of succession planning, right? We shouldn't be in a position where we're stuck and not trying to figure out who can do what. So I think this is a good example of displaying that. And so at your own time and your own method, congratulate Daughtry, and let's continue to support that committee as they continue to do well on behalf of all of the constituents we serve in Community Board 2. Congratulations, Dorothy. Further to that,
Thank you.
as you all may or may not know, Juliet Cullen-Chung, who serves as the chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee, has decided that she has decided to not seek reappointment to Community Board. But because of the work that the committee does and her love for the community that she lives in and serves, she's asked if she could continue in a capacity as a public member, which is fantastic, which is fine. We're glad to have her participation. And so, in like manner, Cheryl Gelbs, who serves as the vice chair for that committee, has had, life has a way of just complicating things when you're not expecting it. And so, under the category of life, she's had to make some decisions to provide better care for some family members who've taken a little ill, a little under the weather. And so we appreciate that. What Cheryl has asked is if she could step down as vice chair, but she will continue to serve as a member of the committee. And so in that vein, I've asked Sid Meier, when Juliet's tenure concludes, if he would serve as the chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee, and Sid has graciously agreed to serve in that capacity. So Sid, I want to say thank you. For those who've been on the board for a little while, Sid is a familiar face, but he is someone who's passionate and has had a close connection to the community. And I, for one, appreciate having his guidance, but also being a strong voice as we continue to tackle some of the issues, most notably the BQE cantilever. And I think Sid will do a fine job in that capacity. So Sid, thank you for agreeing to serve as the next replacement for Juliet Cullen-Chung.
Thank you. It's going to be a hard act to follow.
I love how excited you look. That's fantastic. Next on my list is, I know all of us are astute at maintaining information, the blogs, different media. I wanted to use this as an example to say thank you to the entire board, right? Because this is a situation where no one can be left out. But I also think it serves as an example and a case study, if you will, of how it may take a long time to see a result, but you can't give up. You have to continue to still be a voice. And in that vein, I want to thank everyone under the sound of my voice. And for those who are not on the call, please express my thanks to them for the progress that is being made on the York Street station. The York Street station is something that has been a challenge and quite frankly is a dangerous situation. And it would have been almost criminal, if you will, and these are my terms, almost criminal if nothing was done and voices weren't heard. And not to single anyone out, but I'm going back to what my memory takes me to. And at a time when Mr. John Dew was serving as the chair, and I was second vice chair at that time, he had always been a voice and been consistent about the concerns there. And so not to single anyone out, but I do want to express a sincere thanks to John, Ms. Quint, Doreen Gallo, all people who live close proximity to that train station, but not sitting idle and being quiet. It's taken a while, but progress is being made. So it's an example of where you just can't sit back. Sometimes you may hit a couple of brick walls. You may have a few electeds who may not hear you, but it doesn't mean you stop expressing your voice and your concerns. So in that vein, I want to say thank you all, but clearly for the efforts of everyone. And again, not to single anyone out, not to leave anyone out, but I'm going on my recollection and my experience why I called a few names, but collectively we've done a great job in communicating that to anyone who would care. And I think we are seeing significant progress. So thank you there as well. Next is a perfect segue to what all of you I'm sure have read in the news is the Gowanus rezoning. And so I have been intentional about working with the office and not doing anything that would violate the rules of the court in so much as what could be stated and what could not be stated. Now, based on the judge's ruling, I am in a position to share some information, and it's still, some things are still moving parts. There's still things that are in progress, but I do want to announce that we've made some progress, and Carol Ann Church and myself, along with the leadership of Community Board 6, have had a few conversations, and we have agreed that we will have a joint public hearing with Community Board 2 and 6 to discuss the Gowanus potential rezoning. And I want everybody, we'll definitely make sure we communicate this out to everyone. But what I was able to gather from phone calls are the following. The joint hearing will take place on June 3rd. I'll repeat, June 3rd. And it will be a joint meeting between the leadership of CB2 and CB6. We will have this as a hybrid meeting. So what that means is a portion of the meeting will be available in Zoom. Another portion of the meeting will be in person. And for those who wish to attend in person, it will be at Washington Park. Now pay close attention because there is a Washington Park in CB2. This Washington Park is otherwise known as J.J. Byrne Park. And this park is at 4th Avenue and 3rd Street. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. Washington Park, otherwise known as J.J. Byrne, at 4th Avenue and 3rd Street. While it's not been officially confirmed, I'm almost 90% sure that the meeting will be set aside to take place somewhere between the hours of 3 p.m., concluding somewhere around 10 p.m. We want to make sure that there's ample time for individuals to give their testimony. Everyone can be heard, not feel like they're being rushed. Part of why the decision was made to hold it in the park for obvious reasons around social distancing. But as we have experienced from time to time in CB2, sometimes indoor facilities don't allow you to accommodate a mass of individuals. And so in the context of those who may or may not have access to internet, those who may have familiarity or may not with Zoom or Webex, the public portion of it, really the true public portion of it, being in a park, should not limit capacity, one. And Department of Information and Telecommunications will make sure that they set up a structure that will be conducive for people to be heard and have their information recorded as they give their testimony. And so we've worked through that. If in fact, the weather does not cooperate with us, the rain date will be June 10th. But I'm optimistic that the weather will cooperate with everyone who's excited about saying something about the potential Gowanus rezoning, that June 3rd will work with us. But if in fact it doesn't, it will be a rain date of June 10th. Again, we're scheduled to give people ample time. And so what's on the table now is 3 p.m. till 10 p.m. It's enough time for people to register and be able to get information about the rezoning. The public hearing. Additionally, we will explore, we being the city and CB2 and 6, multitude of options to get the message out, whether it be through newspapers, whether it's some type of public access television spot, whether it's Link NYC, whatever platform, whatever method we have to get the word out. There's been conversations taking place as we speak to make sure that that is done so that all the information can get out collectively. And that way individuals know how to be able to participate in the rezoning in the public hearing and be able to make sure that their voices are heard. And so at this time, that's all the information that I have, that I'm able to communicate the particular details. One other thing I will mention is that given the date, if we stick with June 3rd, to give ample time for the general body to be able to have a collective and focused conversation, it will probably more than likely require us to change the date of our June general body meeting. As you all know, we generally go with a relative date of the second Wednesday of the month. But given that you don't want to rush through this, you want to at least give a period where the testimony can be heard, people can review it, and then have the general body take a position, we will probably have to relocate our date. So I just want to have everyone stay aware of that. As soon as we get information of what the new date will be, we'll communicate that. But you should expect that we may have to relocate our date for our general body meeting. Carol Ann, I'm just going to ask you, is there anything that I'm missing?
I think you covered it all. I was listening carefully.
Okay, fantastic. My partner in crime, so that's great. So I'm going through my notes. Talked about the appointments, straight. Okay, great. So that concludes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yes, that concludes my report. I'll pause to see if anybody has any questions. Doreen?
Hey, thanks for all your communication about this recently. I am concerned about, I mean, I don't remember ever having a joint EMulligan hearing. I thought that the community was, I thought we were going to have a joint information meeting about the proposal. It's gigantic. It's so important. And have separate EMulligan meetings. Who made the decision for it to be joint? And I see it as a kind of problem. I mean, you know, anyway, so that's my question.
So that's a fair question. And just to refresh those who may have recalled being on the board during this period of time, when we had another, I would say not only, but we've had several massive decisions we've had to make at Community Board 2, one of which was Atlantic Yards. And Atlantic Yards was massive, had a lot of impact on several communities. So my recollection, that was one of the times where we did have a joint meeting, particularly because the way Atlantic Yards was structured, it bordered 2 districts, 6 and 2 once again. And so we've had other examples where we've had joint committee meetings. That one went well. It was long because it was massive and there was a lot of information that needed to be dissected. And so based on that example and in consultation with the representatives of CB6, we thought to make sure to capture all of the comments so that, you know, anyone, including city agencies or anyone who was looking to get feedback or greater context about the meeting, the decision was made of the leadership of both community boards to move in a direction where we have a joint public hearing.
Well, it's a very top-down proposal, so I feel like it's problematic that in all this time and all the delays that there hasn't been a better effort by the city to really make a presentation rather than just, you know, certifying and having the hearing. And then I think having a joint hearing and then it being hybrid, you know, I think we have, I don't know, I think the whole environmental review is flawed. So, you know, I'm just concerned because of the, I don't know, I'm just concerned about it in general. But I'm glad to see so many of our board members attended last night they had a Voice of Gowanus had a town hall. And the last one, there were a lot of board members also. So I think that we have a lot of people that are, you know, investing their time to be informed. So I think that's great. I love that about our board. So that's good.
Doreen, thank you. I appreciate your comments. Anyone else with any questions for my chairperson's report?
Yes, Lenny, it's Carlton. Again, on the Gowanus, it's a 7-hour meeting. How do we handle the taking of minutes, keeping records? If we're just going to go with recording, or is it going to have to be people to actually do 7-hour minutes of meeting?
So that's part 2 that I'm still working out. As I get more information,
Yeah, all right.
I'll definitely let you know. What Carol Ann and I have asked is that a professional minute taker from the city facilitate that role. That's a little bit too much to put on a volunteer who's passionate and concerned and ask them to take minutes. It's one thing to take minutes for our normal land use committee meetings. It's another thing to take part in a marathon of 7-hour proportions. And so I'm sure as all of the individuals who, under the sound of my voice, who take minutes and who serve as secretaries for committees, hopefully you find that as welcoming news. But I can't confirm anything just yet. I need to get confirmation. But that's the recommendation that Carolina and I have made, understanding that how much time is going to go into a public hearing of this magnitude.
Thanks, Lenny.
Sure. Anyone else?
This is John Dew. I wanted to acknowledge, as part of the York Street, another board member by the name of Latrell Moso. She was actually instrumental. She's relatively quiet at the community board meetings. I'm sure she's not happy that I'm bringing her name up now. But in any event, because Community Board 2 expressed concern about the York Street station through the application for 69 Adams Street, we had a series of meetings held by Councilmember Levin. And in that series of meetings, Latrell Moso was able to get a portion of the air rights funds resulting from that building assigned to the Farragut houses and to the school. I think it's number 309. That is somewhat unprecedented in the city of New York, as they take all funds and put them into the general pot. That was a really great effort and reward. $1 million is not a lot of money in today's dollars and cents, but it is a major change in city policy that says the communities that are doing all of this work and have all these additional needs, and specifically our public housing, can get a couple of additional bucks out of all of this development that's happening in downtown Brooklyn. So I just thought the board needs to know that.
So thank you, John, for that. I mean, once again, there are certain board members who do a fantastic job and are reluctant and maybe not necessarily want all the limelight or any limelight, but clearly Latrell is someone, I mean, who works in a manner that way, who has done well. And again, this is another example of why I say this all the time, and I don't say this for any type of false platitudes, but I am proud to be chair of Community Board 2. I've always said this. I think Community Board 2 is the best community board in the city. No knock against others that may be just as good, but I don't know anyone that's better, given the magnitude of everything that we have to deal with between public housing developments, between the court systems, between institutions of higher learning, higher education, secondary schools, public schools, development, all the things that take place. I'm really proud, and I thank you all for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I hope that I continue to make you proud, and if I don't, feel free to email me. You have my information, and if I can grow, I will. But in that context, I want to move the meeting along. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback. I do want to highlight, before I transition to item number 5, the district office report, as a repetitive point. If you are a elected official, if you have someone here who is representing you, if you would, please announce yourself through the chat. It would be appreciated if you could announce yourself before, by going directly to the drop down and it says Brooklyn CB2 host and presenter. That way we can, when it's time to call on you, we know that you're here. If not, if you want to do it in a general way, that's fine as well. But anyone who is normally a speaker or representing an agency or representing a stakeholder group that is normally called, I'd ask if you would do so now as a repetitive point. What I'm going to do now is ask you to turn to the next item on the agenda, which is the district office report. But actually, before I do that, I'm checking the meetings, I'm checking the chat, and I see we have the lovely Assembly Member Joanne Simon, and I know she's always maintaining a busy and a hectic schedule. And so in like manner, if we were able to adjust our agenda for Chuck Schumer, we can definitely adjust our agenda for Joanne Simon. So at this point, let me just pause item number 5, which is the district report, and let me turn it over to Assemblywoman Joanne Simon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lenny, and for your kind introduction, and hello to everybody at CB2. I'm happy to be here with you this evening, and I just wanted to give you a brief update of what's been going on in the Assembly. And I'm glad that you had that little report on the Gowanus rezoning, so I don't have to tell you, which is great. Thank you very much, Lenny. So just a couple things. As you may know, we passed a really outstanding budget. We talked about it at a recent meeting, but I wanted to sort of fill you in on a couple things that we did. One is, we extended the eviction moratorium through August 31st. But we also, as you know, passed unprecedented, millions of dollars to help support people who were unable to pay their rent. And that money, of course, would be available to those landlords to defray the cost of the tenants who were not able to pay that rent. So this way, if a landlord gets that money, they would agree not to evict somebody for the next year, but this way we're able to make the landlord whole. We're able to help defray the cost of utilities and other expenses for those tenants who were not able to pay their rent, because the last thing we need in a pandemic is for people to lose their homes. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, we were able to restore voting rights to people who were formerly incarcerated, and we passed unprecedented foundation aid. The Campaign for Fiscal Equity has been a battle for many, many years. It's taken 27 years from the date they filed that lawsuit, alleging that schools in urban areas that were disadvantaged had been underfunded for decades already. It is now 27 years later, and we finally have a commitment that over the next 3 years, we will fully fund that foundation aid to our schools. And so that is extraordinarily important. We have also gained a commitment that the state will continue to fund at those levels and equalize the funding for schools even after the additional federal dollars run out, so that the state is stepping up to the plate and will continue to fund those schools. I'm also very proud I just have become the lead sponsor on a bill that will require smaller class sizes, and we will get to that over a period of time and put that into statutory language, so that we will not be able to continue to raise the size of classes because, as you know, that has been a persistent problem for our students. We also have halted solitary confinement in New York State. It can now be used under very, very prescriptive way, for limited periods of time, which is really important. Because solitary confinement has just been used and abused and caused such harm to people who are incarcerated. I'm very proud to have been a sponsor on that bill for the last 7 years, and it finally got passed. And then we also have regulated, we passed marijuana. So marijuana is now decriminalized, but also we will be able to regulate it and tax it. It will take some time, probably about 1.5 years, 2 years, before all of the elements of that law will be in effect. But it really is an opportunity to really change things on the ground. The big thing that I'm very happy about is that we were very intentional about ensuring that people who in communities that have been really devastated by the criminalization of marijuana will in fact be compensated. We will ensure that the funds from that get plugged into services in those communities. And we are also ensuring that the industry, as it develops, that there will be licenses and there will be support for communities. Again, those communities have been most harmed by marijuana, that they will actually be able to get jobs in the industry, develop that industry. It's a really massive industry. I went to a marijuana grow site when I was in Rochester a few years ago, and it's extraordinary how many jobs will be created by creating this industry of adult use marijuana. And so I'm very excited for it. I'm very happy to be part of it. I'm really very excited about the kind of economic development that will be able to bring to just, the average person can get involved in this industry and really build a career. At some point, big tobacco will probably buy over those companies. But in the meantime, for the 10 years or so before big tobacco is going to buy them over, we'll be creating those industries, and people will be making money and will now be in that industry. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I wanted to mention very briefly is we just did Dyslexia Awareness Day at the Capitol. We've been doing it now. It's our 6th year. This year we did it all remotely. Gloria and Jerry Pinkney, who are a couple he is a world-renowned illustrator. She is an author, and they spoke. We talked about school to prison pipeline and systemic racism. We also talked about how to implement these programs on the ground in our schools so that our teachers are better acquainted with these needs. And we had over 200 people participate this year remotely. And so I'm very proud of that. And I also just want to tell you that we just passed several voting bills, one of which is automatic voter registration. We will be able to have a constitutional amendment. It will go to the voters in November, so that you will not need an excuse any longer for absentee ballots. And we will also be able to, you can also request your absentee ballots online in the future. So that outside of New York City, the city's been able to do it now for the last two elections, but you can do it. We'll be able to do it everywhere in the state. So that's real progress and making it easier for people to vote. And then I just want to finally just mention on the BQE, which I know is a topic in many people's minds. We do have a weight and motion bill that we are looking forward to passing, that would be electronic monitoring of excess truck weights, which is one of the things that helps the roadway deteriorate. And so we are trying to get that passed before the end of session, because we are really concerned about the deterioration of the triple cantilever, as you know, and this will make a difference to prolonging the life of the roadway while we plan for what to do there and elsewhere in the corridor. And I have a BQE with Senator Kavanagh, BQE authority bill that will create an authority to plan for the I-278 corridor from the Kosciuszko down to the Verrazano, so that we will not have little piecemeal things done that will end up creating problems down the line. So I just wanted to make sure I was able to report that to you, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have them. Thanks so much.
So, Assemblywoman Simon, thank you so much for being here in person. I do want to say it's rare that we get a chance to see you, because you're doing a lot, you're busy, but we want to say thank you. But in the same vein, I also want to compliment Ms. Bello, who always represents you in the highest fashion. She's an added member to your office, and even as you were speaking, she was constantly populating the chat with information to support what you're doing. So I wanted to compliment her as well. And then with that, I don't know how much time you have for questions, but we'll open it up to a few.
Well, I want to thank you and compliment Ms. Bello as well. In fact, she really was the lead person coordinating our Dyslexia Awareness Day. It's the first time we've ever done it, and she did a fabulous job. So I'm very happy to have her on board and very proud of her as well. Thank you, Olavia.
So now we're done celebrating Olavia. Does anybody have any questions for Assemblywoman Simon?
Joanne's Carlton Gordon here. Hi.
Hi, Carlton.
How you doing, John? Do they still have those weigh stations for the trucks? I remember seeing those many years ago along the highways. So I know that's something that they were concerned about with truck weight on the roads.
Well, we don't have them in the city because we don't have any room for them. So they're on the big highways. And so one of the problems is you have to take the trucks off the road and have them drive over a sensor kind of thing in order to do that. Yeah. This way we would do it on the roadway, and if the truck was overweight, they would be issued a violation.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you so much, Joanne, for your report. Thank you for your service. I just want to ask a question about the incarcerated being given the right to vote. When is that effective, and is it retroactive?
It is formally incarcerated. So right now, if you are out and you're on parole, right, or community service, you can't vote until you're done, right? This would restore those rights the minute you're released. And while you're serving your parole or probation, you would be able to vote. And the governor did sign the bill. So I don't remember the effective date, but I think it was shortly after the bill passed. It wasn't a long lead up.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Hey, Lenny, it's Lindsay. I have a quick question,
Hi,
if that's okay.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi. I'm curious about the rental moratoriums, if that's going to be a service that people who are undocumented can tap into.
Well, we do have a program. It's not the exact same program, but yes, we will be able to provide that support for people who are undocumented. There are people that are undocumented that had rent receipts, and then there are people that didn't, for example. And there's 2 levels of funding for that. It's not great, but it's something. Part of it is the excluded workers. We're calling them excluded workers because unfortunately they're not able to take part in any of the programs from the federal government. And so we provided $2 billion for that, a little over $2 billion.
Thank you. That is great.
Suzanne Quinn.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to continue on the York Street theme, and thanks, Joanne. I know you had offered to connect with the MTA president, I think it was.
Yeah, I
of
talked to
York
Pat
Street.
Foy about it.
Yes. Okay, good. So thank you for that. And we look forward to the feasibility study coming out and having your continued support on that at the state level.
Sure. You know, they were doing the bringing on the you know, the contracting part of it, and the actual feasibility study would take 4 to 6 months. So it'd be about 6 to 8 months from the time I talked to Pat, which was like 2 weeks ago, to when we'll have the results of that. But they are very cognizant of this need, and you know, we want to make it accessible, but we also just want to have a second entrance there. It's just so dangerous.
Yeah, no, we're the letter. The letter we received stated they would have the feasibility study. They were shooting for the end of June. So maybe a little bit sooner then.
Yeah, I'm not overly sanguine that it'll be the end of June, but that's what they're shooting for, you know.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joanne.
All righty. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Simon, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always. Keep up the great job, and we hope to see you with the continued future in a different path.
Thank you, Lenny. I appreciate it. And thank you all for your attention and your great questions.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Thanks.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Have a great evening. All right. Jumping back into the agenda, before we get to item number 5, which is the district office report, I would hope that everyone would take the opportunity to read the information when it's distributed. I think what you'll see is the vision I asked for the office as we transition is to be able to show the board and the community just the amount of work that goes into the office, the type of issues that we deal with, the way in which we respond to them, the things that we're doing to the day-to-day, so that it gives you some level of accountability of the office when you're in the office, and clearly when you're working remotely. It's not as simple as some may have imagined, or for those who didn't really have any insight at all as to what goes into the day in the life. I hope that as you read this report and you see as it continues to get more and more robust, you see the amount of effort and work that goes in from the staff. And, you know, like I said, it bears repeating, they're doing a fantastic job. And so with that, let me turn it over to item number 5, the district office report, and I'll turn it over to Carol Ann Church.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So as everyone knows, but I think it bears repeating, we are on social media. And you've seen the report, but Facebook 34, Twitter 40, and Instagram 77. So my challenge to everyone is tell all your friends. First off, make sure you follow and like us. Tell all your friends, because that's the only way we're going to begin to grow. Everyone asks for it, and my colleague has worked really hard on getting it set up. So we're there now. It takes the effort of all of us. I also want to remind everyone that every member should consider it their personal obligation to share the information that they get regarding our meetings. You know, we have a list of about 2,000 people, but only 800 or so people are reading our notices. So please, and lots of people say, well, they never heard of something happening. So I encourage everyone, please share your newsletter when you get it, and do encourage your friends and neighbors to sign up on the website for information. It's a little bit of what we sometimes call the silly season. It's been really very busy, and some of our members are seeing that in the volume of emails that they're receiving. In the extra meetings you've attended, thank you for that, because those meetings are important for you as members to make the right decision. So I do appreciate from our end the volunteering to take the extra minutes. I want to say thank you for that, particularly to Daughtry and Jessica. Thank you so much. And Karen Johnson as well. I also want to note some of the things that we've done. When you look at the district office report, as Taya likes to remind me that, you know, that's only a percentage, maybe 75% of the emails and work that we do. There's the other stuff that isn't quite so public. But I want to point out that you might see an item being resolved under the constituent inquiries or in progress, and you might see it come up for a couple of months. Some of these things take a number of emails, and one in particular, took 5 agencies walking under the BQE last Friday morning. So the complexity of some of the items we deal with can't just be described in the brief notes that we make. The issue under the BQE was abandoned vehicles, illegal dumping, persons who might have been in need of homeless services, illegally parked vehicles, not just abandoned, but illegally parked, graffiti, and took 5 agencies out there. And hopefully, for now, we'll have a resolution because these issues are perennial and we're not quite sure how to make them go away as a group of agencies. But I just wanted to describe that as some of the work that we do, because it's not all just seen in the numbers. And that's it. You have the report. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask, but those were the things I want to highlight. And before that, I just want to remind everyone that we are a team of 3 and we do it all together. Taya, Gustavo, who you never see, so have to make an extra effort to mention his name. It's a team of 3. Thank you.
It's an excellent team of 3. It's a wonderful team of 3.
Hey, John, you got to stop stealing my thunder. I was going to say that. You just took all my thunder.
Help it.
We're taking compliments.
It's a totally different vibe now. Community Board 2 is now responsible to Community Board 2. And it's a thing of beauty. Carol Ann, Taya, Gustavo, thank you very much. We feel the difference in the support that the community gets from the Community Board 2 board office. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. And in the spirit of being in teamwork, Carol Ann was what she meant to say was she thanks all of the secretaries for every single committee, because without the secretaries, she, Taya, Scavo, and I would have a hard time. So today is CB2 National Secretaries Day. I just made that up, but enjoy it. Take it. Take it. Item number 6 on the agenda is where we take a moment to acknowledge all of our elected officials. And as you saw, we did it for Assemblywoman Simon because she had a request where she had another conflict because she's trying to represent the issues at another community board meeting. But at this point is where we call out the representatives for all the elected officials and the dignitaries that are with us. And so again, if you're late, you're just joining, if you would, please indicate your presence in the chat. It's helpful if you go to the chat under 2, click a message so that it goes directly to Brooklyn CB2 and host and presenter. That way they can update me on who's here. And so if you haven't done so, that would be great. And with that, let me start with, and so what I'm going to do is, in a way to allow these individuals to represent themselves so that you can put a name with a face, I'm going to call the elected official and then let the representative introduce him or herself. So with that, I'll start with a representative from Attorney General Letitia Tish James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. And good evening to the board members of Community Board 2. Again, my name is Darryl White, and I'm from the Office of the Attorney General, Tish James. And I'm the outreach liaison and the supervisor for the Brooklyn Queens Regional Office that's located at 55 Hanson Place is Michael Barbosa. He's the Attorney General in charge. And what I wanted to do very quickly is to talk about our Protecting Our Community initiative. which is to basically inform everyone of some of the things that the Attorney General office does, or what does the Attorney General actually do. And, obviously, we investigate different matters that come before the office. But more importantly, and more specifically, we do more consumer fraud issues, theft issues, internet safety issues for all consumers. And the consumers that mostly affect seniors also. And then we do identity theft issues, civil rights issues, and healthcare issues. And during the pandemic, obviously we were not open, but the office is open in the sense of going to the website ag.ny.gov. I also left my email address and my cell number on the chat also, so that if any of those issues come up that you think that affects you or even someone else, please give us a call. I have actually, Mr. Chair, a flyer that I would like to send to the community board office, so that if you do have an issue, again, we do virtual appointments where you would call the office or myself at the number on the chat, and then I would help to kind of vet the issue that comes before the office, and then we can speak to the Attorney General in charge, Michael Barbosa, by way of having a link sent to you, and then you can speak directly to him. Again, if issues of, again, like identity theft, if you think or you know someone that has their identity taken away, or you think that there may be an issue, elder abuse against seniors, scams targeting seniors, and not just seniors, scams targeting anyone. And again, theft issues, illegal evictions, and civil rights and housing issues. And so if any of those things come across you, again, I will send the flyer to the district office, so that, Mr. Chair, that you can send it to the members of the board, and then obviously please send it, and put it on your social media page. And again, if there's any issues that come up with those in that way, in the titles, please give us a call, and see if we can actually work it out, or find out what the issue is. And if it's our office, then fine. If not, then we can direct you to the office that it may go to. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll yield back my time.
Well, Mr. White, thank you for participating. Our regards to Mr. Barbosa, and you or Mr. Barbosa always have an opportunity to come before the community board. We're always interested to hear what the Attorney General has to say. As some of us like to say, she'll always be ours because she was our council person for so many years. And so we're happy of the success she and all the members of her office are making. And just so you know, in the chat, we have our email address. So if you don't have it, it's bk02@cb.nyc.gov. I'm going to repeat that one more time. It's bk02@cb.nyc.gov. And so if you want to just get information to us, that's great. If you want to be on our distribution so that you know what's going on, that's great too. I think the more communication, the more information that's shared, the better the community is served. So again, thank you for participating tonight. Let me pause.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Let me pause to see if there are any questions. I want to keep us on track with the agenda, but I don't want to rush through and not have people have a chance to ask questions. So if there are any questions for Mr. White, please let us know. Please speak up. Okay, great. Next on the agenda, representing State Senator Brian Kavanagh.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is GMayhew from State Senator Brian Kavanagh's office. I do have a few updates, but actually the State Assembly member took some of mine, which is great, and thoroughly went through them. So I don't want to be repetitive here, but I will just mention one update. The New York State Homes and Community Renewal has opened Section 8 waiting list for the first time since 2006 for New York City residents. The application process will begin on May 17th to the 28th. There's more details about eligibility and how to apply on their website. I believe you can only apply via the website or on phone. So if you have any questions, let us know, and we can connect you with the right people. And other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Greer?
Yes, Greer, this is John Dew. There has always been a concern about the rate of payment that Section 8 provides. Has that been changed to any extent?
I'm so sorry, you were kind of low. Can you speak up and repeat that one more time? I'm sorry, it might be my computer.
The amount of money that Section 8 pays towards each client, has that been altered? It's been the same for a long period of time.
Yes, I don't believe that's changed, but I can double check on that. I don't believe it's changed though.
Please share that with the board office.
I sure will. Thanks.
Any other questions for Greer?
Greer, just to manage everyone's expectations, I know it's been a long time since the waiting list was open, but I believe that the wait list is still currently around 14 years average wait time. Do you believe that to still be accurate?
Yes, I believe that is around, I think that is accurate. And I also want to say that they expect about 100,000 applications, but they'll only place 15,000 eligible applicants on its waiting list. So again, to help manage expectations here. And they're also prioritizing based on category, based on need and category. So it's like homeless individuals versus individuals who are in some type of domestic violence or sexual assault situation, and then elderly and disabled individuals, and then other eligible applicants. So.
Any other questions for Greer?
May I?
Sure, Tanya, go ahead.
Hi. So what about the people that was previously on the waiting list like 10, 20, 15 years ago? And they're opening that back up and they never been called either. And then it's also different Section 8s also.
Mm-hmm. So on your first question about people who haven't been called, I believe my understanding is that they've went through the list. I don't know. I don't want to give any false information.
Yeah.
So I think it's based on people. I think they're still on the list, but it's just there's like an opening on the rest of the waiting list. So I don't know. I think you should follow up with DHCR about that. And also if you have like specific people that have questions about that, you can forward them to our office. And your question is right. Is about they're having different Section 8. Yes, there are different Section 8s, but this is based on DHCRs.
So let me just say this. I think in order to be fair, so that one, you get correct answers to the questions that are being asked. Greer, if you at least can you take as you're doing now, you just take down the questions. You can do the research, and that way, instead of feeling like perhaps with no ill intent, you're being on the spot, or you don't necessarily have all the details. We're happy to take that and disseminate it to the board members and the community, so that they're making decisions and receiving information that's accurate.
Definitely, I will definitely follow up.
That's perfect. Any other questions before we move on? Great, Greer, thank you. I appreciate it. Next, we have a representative for New York City Comptroller, Scott Stringer.
Hi, everyone. This is Michael Stinson. I'm sorry I'm not on camera. I'm having some really bad connection issues tonight, so if I cut out, I apologize. Just a quick update. Last week, the Comptroller's office, Comptroller Stringer, released a comprehensive analysis of the economic impact of COVID-19 on minority and women-owned businesses 1 year into the pandemic, revealing severe barriers to financial relief and exclusionary COVID-19 contracts. According to the survey of 503 businesses, 50% of MWBs were forced to lay off or furlough employees, and although 87% of MWBs that applied for relief received funding through the federal Paycheck Protection Program, it has not been enough to support businesses in the long term. In addition, more than 30% will be unable to pay rent in the next 3 months. Of the 154 MWB respondents that competed for city contracts during COVID-19, just 53 of the MWBs, which is 34%, received a contract. City certified MWBs were able to access COVID-19 related business relief funding, mostly from the federal government. The analysis follows a survey that we did in June 2020 of more than 500 city MWBs that found 85% of MWBs believed they could not survive for the next 6 months. I will drop the link into the chat of the analysis so you can all take a look if you want on your own time. And I'll leave it at that so we can hear more from you guys. Thank you.
Michael, thank you for that update. Any questions for Michael?
Well, I don't have any questions. I would like to simply report that the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District is comprised of mostly NWBE businesses, and through the pandemic, the bid has actually added 6 businesses and has lost just a couple that were actually on the precipice prior to the pandemic. So the pandemic just caused them to make that ultimate decision that was in the making anyway.
Thanks, John. Ms. Richardson, do you have a question? Come on, mute.
I have a few, so I don't want to hold nothing up. And when I keep my head going up and down, I'm trying to hear everything. John, you're real low. So if he could just leave his information so that the questions could be addressed, because also as a minority women business owner, it's been difficult to get certified and contracts. So I'm
Tanya,
like,
let me offer this. We definitely have Michael's information. He did announce at the very beginning he's having some technical difficulties. So if you would just submit those questions to the board office.
Okay.
And then we'll make sure Michael gets those, and then we'll start a dialogue so that you can get a response to those questions.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sure,
Also,
no
we do. I don't know if you've ever gone to any of our MWBE workshops. That Wendy Garcia from our office. So, well, you definitely have that connection as well. But feel free. I'll try to get any of your questions answered as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
And Michael, this is Lenny. If you would, and I'm sure it happens, but let me just reinforce that if Ms. Garcia has the ability as the Chief Diversity Officer in the Comptroller's office to carve out some time to present to Community Board 2, we would definitely make sure that we would make the adjustments to give her prime time as an agenda item. And we'd love to hear the initiatives that she's accomplished and ways to help other people who could use the resources of the Comptroller's office.
Oh, absolutely. I'll talk to her tomorrow, and I'll see if we can get some time set up for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you.
Sure. Our next dignitary representing Brooklyn DA, Eric Gonzalez. Johnny, you need to come off mute. So, Janice, it appears that you're experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll come back to you because we can see you, we just can't hear you. So we'll come back to you, and if you get everything figured out, just come in the chat and let us know that we can hear you. So with that, don't disappear. Try to figure it out. But we'll move on to the representative for Brooklyn Borough President Eric L. Adams.
Good evening, Community Board 2 members and residents of the district. My name is NBlackshear. I am the Community Affairs Director for Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. I just want to make comment on 3 items. 1, an update in regard to the Borough President's distribution of PPEs. To date, our office has distributed more than 3,000 meals, more than 18,000 pairs of gloves, and more than 100,000 face masks. If there is a need, as long as supplies can be ascertained, Borough President Adams will work to see that supplies and food reach the people that are in need. Also, when the federal government extended the tax filing deadline to July 15th, Borough President Adams immediately sent a letter to Governor Cuomo calling for New York to do the same. That change has since been approved by the state, so please take your time and take care in preparing your taxes this year. Also, in regards to public health guidance, our borough president has been front and center. He wants the community to be fully aware of the resources that they have available to them. So please feel free to visit our website, as Taya has already put in the chat. But you can go specifically to brooklyn-usa.org/Brooklyn-COVID-19/. And then last but not least, I know there's a lot of questions from board members as well as members of the community who has applied for membership. Our office is still currently in review of the applications and in consultation with New York City Council members. Once we have completed all 18 community boards, and let me say that we have received I would say approximately 1,000 applications for all 18 community boards. Once that is done, then letters will be going out to those who have reapplied and those who have applied. We expect those letters to go out before the end of May. If by June you have not received the letters, particularly the first week of June, please feel free to reach our office. You can reach out to me, and I will put my email address in the chat. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nan. Appreciate you always being present to represent the Borough President's office. Any questions for Nan? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, let me go back and see if Mr. Watkins, representing Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez. Mr. Watkins, are you on the line and have you worked through your technical issues? All right, great. So we're going to move on with the agenda. Maybe in the agenda, if Mr. Watkins is able to reconnect, we'll call some time out to hear what his updates are. So moving on to item number 7, we have one committee for action this evening. That is the Land Use Committee.
Thank you very much, Lenny. We have, just to introduce again, co-chairs. I didn't see Irene. I guess Irene's out there somewhere. And Daughtry Kostarfin is our other co-chair. And thanks for your help and work. And I'm Carlton Gordon. We have one item, which it's the MTA zoning for accessibility. Yes. And it's a joint proposal that came from both the Metropolitan Transportation Authority and the New York City Department of Planning. Am I getting? Okay. I'm only hesitating because I'm getting feedback, that's all.
You should be fine now. I think we took care of it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so what the MTA and city planning is proposing is a zoning amendment that will allow for the MTA to work more effectively with private developers to help achieve system-wide accessibility more quickly. The proposal is to include a system-wide transit easement, which would help and would expanded transit improvement bonuses going to in high-density areas for private developers. Basically, what all that means is that they would the proposal was to have easements which would then have bonuses going for, easements for the transport, for MTA and for the basically the subway. We're talking about the subway. And we're talking about people who are going to build privately owned structures that's basically on top of subway stations. And that would help in getting elevators. I don't know if it would be large enough for escalators, but that would probably be part of it as well. The main thing is to provide access for people so that they're not just stuck with staircases. Basically, that was the proposal, was to try to get more access to as many subway stations as possible. Now, the committee, while was interested in, the committee felt that the proposals just weren't strong enough, that the plans were not strong enough. Part of the problem was that the MTA was looking at putting in accessibility at every third station, let's say, along a line. And one of the things that we were very concerned about is that given the heavy use of our stations here in Community Board 2, especially in downtown Brooklyn, that we felt that all stations in this district should receive this kind of easements. Now, what happened was that because the committee felt that it was not strong enough, the motion that initially we proposed to accept or to approve was decided, well, we were 4 in favor, 3 abstentions, and 3 noes. So that motion failed. A second motion to disapprove was passed at a 7-3 vote. As a result, we're not recommending that there was a rejection of any specific proposal, but we recommended that we don't give the city planning and the MTA our approval, because we felt that the proposal as a whole was inadequate to meet the needs of people, especially in our board. So we recommended against, or we would say recommend against approving the proposed planning, not again for any specific thing, but just that we felt that it should be bigger, larger, and more comprehensive.
Thank you, Carlton. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation. Mr. Quint, second. Ms. Gallo, is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Ms. Juliet Cullen-Chung.
Thank you. We also heard this topic in the Transportation and Public Safety Committee, and we echo some of the concerns that you've expressed about, the ADA accessibility on every third subway line. We do want to improve ADA accessibility on all of our subway lines, especially serving Community Board 2. Downtown Brooklyn is a huge nexus, and people come from all over New York City to downtown Brooklyn. So I think our committee does echo that concern. I would say that I personally would support certain aspects of the proposal. I think their streamlining of the zoning bonus is a positive improvement to how the existing zoning bonus works, to encourage developers to incorporate stair and elevator access to the subways that are that they may be building above. And I wonder if if this passes, maybe we could consider something that does allow that that portion to move forward. I think the easement, they haven't fully really considered all of the administrative and operational issues with the easements. I think that it's difficult for certain properties to be able to accommodate the easements, and it's a little bit willy-nilly in terms of you come to us and we'll tell you if we need to implement an easement or not. So, but the zoning bonus I would support.
Thank you. Jessica.
Hi, I'm just curious if there was thought or consideration given to approving it, but with the stipulation that with any sort of stipulation, whether it's, you know, instead of every third, it's every station, or highlighting what Juliet called out. I'm just curious why disapprove rather than approve with considerations.
We didn't get that far.
Okay.
Basically, personally, I thought that this was a start, but most of the committee felt that it just was not adequate. So there was just a across the board rejection by the majority of the committee that they felt that it just was the old saying, take it back to the drawing board.
Barbara Zala.
Mr. Gordon.
Barbara Zala Gringer.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is there any language added to this as part of this vote that as to why you're voting against it? I mean, when this, if it gets approved this way and it goes to the MTA and city planning, will they get a report as to why why the committee disapproved it?
There was no specific language at this. It was just, again, a general disapproval of the plan as not being adequate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway.
Mr. Duke?
No, if I could jump in, the language on why we are rejecting it is included in the minutes. So we could simply go to the minutes and extract from that the discussion that happened at the committee that brought on that vote. But I should add this, specifically with downtown Brooklyn. We've already been doing this. We have already been asking developers.
Danny, I'm going to get ready to check one out here. I can listen.
So John,
we've already been doing this.
John, hold on for me 1 second. Mr. Watkins, I'm glad you were able to join. If you could put your phone on mute through this process, that would be helpful. And then we'll call you to come off mute so you can give your update in a second. It's just causing some distortion from one of our board members. John, I'm sorry, continue, please.
Yes, we've been doing this. We've had some degree of success without actually any input from the MTA. We have successfully gotten, as you heard earlier, for York Street. The York Street station, by the way, is not in the current MTA plan for ADA accessibility. However, the Economic Development Corporation presented to Community Board 2 about the ferry, assuming that the York Street station was ADA compliant because it is the closest station to Brooklyn Bridge Park and to the ferry. So what we actually need all of these city agencies to do when they are developing plans that involve the community board is to come to the community board before they develop the plan and understand what our concerns are. Part of the issue we're having is that community board 2, in this particular example, would not get any more ADA compliance. They did not come to us. With all the development that has gone on downtown Brooklyn, we should have every station ADA compliant at this point. They're not addressing that. That's actually what got denied. We've gone through this for over a decade now and gotten no support from the MTA. We also have 2 stations in which the developer has installed elevators down to the platform. The MTA is just getting around to talking about installing elevators from the mezzanine down to the platform. So you can go to Hoyt-Skin Street with a wheelchair and you can get down to the mezzanine, but you can't get down to the platform. The developer did what the developer agreed to do. So we have done this. What we need all of the city agencies to do, and I have some discussion about that later, is to come to the community boards before they develop a plan that involves the community and hear from us what the concerns are. We have people in offices that are developing plans for the communities they know about. So
Thank you,
I'll
John.
stop there.
Daughtry?
I just wanted to echo both Mr. Dew and Juliet's comments that this is a fairly complex proposal that came to the Land Use Committee already baked. And, you know, as John just mentioned, we didn't have a chance to input prior to that point. Its complexity worked against it in this instance. And, you know, there is a requirement that they're proposing for the easement piece that is very subjective, as Juliet mentioned. And then the second part of it is the transit bonus, which would be optional. And I personally had a problem with the fact that it allowed developers to choose either the transit bonus and accessibility or affordable housing, for example, but not both. And so there were just so many questions that came out of their presentation that we were unable to feel confident in supporting what they were putting forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this motion?
Yeah,
Brian?
Mr.
Brian?
Chair, I have a comment. I think that those comments about the deficiencies of the proposal are completely accurate and fair. I think the key question to Ms. Thurston's comments are whether or not if we say no, this will come back to us as something better. There's nothing preventing us from saying, you know, we like these parts and we want to see, you know, either approving with conditions or disapproving with conditions. But I'm not sure why we think if we say no that this will come back anytime soon as something that looks more like what we want.
Any other discussion on the motion? Lindsay?
Lenny, so I do have to agree with Ms. Thurston and Brian. I think that this has to go back to committee with an actual recommendation to the MTA because this is our one opportunity to weigh in. These are much needed resources and investments that we need in our community. And this is our opportunity. And while we would prefer that they come to us before they make the plan, this is when they came to us. And I think we have to participate in the process.
As I said,
hold on, John.
recommend-
Hold on, John. Hold on.
Minute.
Hold on, John. Are there any other individuals who haven't already spoke who have discussion on the motion? All right, John.
If it's just a point of clarification, the clarification was just made in this discussion. We can take what was just discussed by the board members that spoke and put it in the rationale for denial. We don't need to have another meeting. We just discussed it all.
All right, so now that we had that point of clarification, we're going to put this to
Irene Jatter, can you hear me?
Now we can, Irene, yes. Irene, we can hear you. Or maybe I should say we could hear you.
Ms. Jenner, you just muted yourself again.
Irene?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours. Don't do anything. Just start talking.
Okay. We found that it was a wholly inadequate proposal. There is no requirement that any developers do anything for accessibility in the subway. They can if they want, and then of course build even that much bigger when they're already asking to double space every time they come to us. And there was just nothing that would make it sure that when a developer like a 85 Flatbush or something comes to us, that they're going to do anything that they haven't already done.
Okay, great. Are there any additional comments before I go to a vote? All right, hearing no further discussion, Jessica,
Lenny.
we're going to do this in a roll call vote. All right?
Yep,
You ready?
I'm ready. And I'm happy to read it. That's what we talked about, unless you prefer to do it a different way.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Great. Okay. So I don't think she joined, but Ms. Ali, how do you vote?
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
Let me just be clear so I want everyone knows what they're voting for.
Yeah.
If you vote yes, that means you support the committee's recommendation to disapprove. If you vote no, that means that you are against the committee's recommendation to disapprove. I just want to be in clarity here so you know what you're voting for. And then clearly the abstention is you're taking no vote, no position. I'm sorry, Jessica. Wanted to make that clarity.
No, you're fine. And I did also, I'll just add that.
That's a point of information. Abstention.
Sid,
Point of
Sid.
information. Abstention.
Sid, let me just finish my point.
Okay, ahead.
I just wanted to add that we've had this discussion about, some of the issues and pushback, and we have not made a friendly amendment to the motion. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear to folks in case anyone potentially wanted to offer that before we go into roll call, unless Lenny, you'd prefer we just jump right into roll call.
No, that's fine. Go ahead, Sid.
A point of information, the way abstentions work here is they're actually counted as against, because what they count, in order to pass it, you need a majority of the people present voting for. If you abstain, it's counted as a no vote.
Well,
that's how it works.
Yeah, but technically that's not how it's recorded. So I get the subtlety.
No, I just want people to understand what it means. That's all.
I get you. All right, go ahead, Juliet.
Can I make the suggestion for a friendly amendment to approve the zoning bonus streamlining portion of the proposal?
Well, actually, we're in the middle of taking this vote. So the opportunity to make that friendly amendment concluded when we started to take the vote.
Okay, I'll go back to my list. Again, I don't think she joined, but Ms. Ali? Okay. Mr. Andrews has not joined, I believe. Okay, Mr. Augustus? Okay. Ms. Blount? I don't think so. Okay. Ms. Karstarfin?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Cohen? I don't think I saw him. Okay. Ms. Colin Chung?
Abstain.
Mr. Dew?
Yes.
Ms. Einhorn?
No.
Ms. Fibush is not here. Mr. Ferreira? I don't think I saw him. Mr. Flournoy?
Abstain.
Ms. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Gelbs? Who else is there? Ms. Gilman?
Abstain.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison? Don't think I saw John. Okay. Mr. Howell?
No.
Ms. Hubbard, Common and Weary?
Yes.
Ms. Janner?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Abstain.
Mr. Jordan?
Yes.
Ms. Krejci? I think I saw her. Mr. Lastowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Luckett? Did I see Oscar? No. Ms. McKnight?
Yes.
Ms. Medley?
Yes.
Was that a yes, Clenita?
No.
Can you was it a no or was it abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Mr. Meyer?
No.
Ms. Morales?
Yes.
Ms. Masso,
Yes.
Ms. Policia,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips Almeida. I think I saw Meredith. Ms. Quint,
Yes.
Mr. Quint,
Yes.
Ms. Richardson,
Yes.
thanks, Tanya. Mr. Scala, I don't think I saw him. Mr. Singletary,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Dwight Smith,
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Mr. Sproul, don't think I saw him. Okay. Ms. Staten, I don't think I saw her either. Okay. Ms. Thompson Manning,
Yes.
okay. Ms. Thurston, no. Mr. Washington, I don't think I saw him. Ms. Yearwood Young,
No.
Ms. Zaylor Gringer.
Abstain.
Okay, give me 1 second to do math and convert my letters to numbers. Okay, we have 21 yeses to 5 noes to 6 abstentions. So the measure passes.
Thank you to the committee for the work that you put in bringing this action to the general body.
Thanks a lot, Lenny.
Sure. Next item is item number 8, committees to report. First up is economic development and employment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill Flinoy, Chair of Economic Development and Employment, Denise Peterson, my co-chair. And Mr. Chair, thank you for recognizing all of the secretaries of the board. I appreciate that. Okay, we had our meeting on May 4th. We had 2 presenters. We had NPower, it was presented by Lisa Lowe. NPower actually focuses on helping veterans and young adults from underserved communities with progress as far as economic progress. They're looking basically for creating paths for the digital careers in the marketplace. They're looking for individuals between 18 and 25 years of age with a high school diploma or GED equivalent. Basically, they're looking to find work for these individuals basically in this field. Right now, they're employing about 80% of the individuals who actually complete the program. 80% of them actually do find employment. Entry level is about $45,000 a year. The jobs they find are desk support, IT support, analysis, PC technicians, IT generalists, and network administrators. Some of these courses that they take actually have credits for college. One of the courses that I find interesting that they actually complete is the Google IT certificate, which is substantial. In addition to that, they get paid internships. And this is something that I find very interesting. And it's 100% free, but it's very competitive. Right now, each cohort is about 60 students, and about 50% of those students are actually hired. The location of NPower is 50 Green Avenue. The next class is going to be on August 16th. Okay, the deadline for applications is August 6th. Okay, in addition to that, we had the next presentation was the Trellis Youth Crew. Pastor Zach Martin actually gave the presentation. Once again, they're focusing on the public housing, the Ingersoll and Whitman housing in Fort Greene. They're working basically also with mutual aid groups throughout the district. They're looking for students between the ages of 14 and 18. That's who they're looking for as targets. And the actual mutual aid groups that they're working with are in Gowanus, Clinton Hill, and Bed-Stuy. They're also working with the local businesses, the business improvement districts, and also the individuals are finding work with open streets and also food distributions. And the students will actually receive stipends. Currently, right now, what we're looking at is they just began help starting up, and they're going to be needing some actual some funds actually to help them continue with their progress. So that's something they're looking out for. Currently, right now, the committee for the next meeting is going to be June 1st. We're going to be focusing on the fiscal year 23. Okay, we're going to be focusing on the district needs. We're going to review the past 12 months of the different speakers who came to our committee. And we're going to be working on early drafts and researching for district partners to align with us with the district needs. One of the things we're going to be looking to do also is leveraging the social media platform that we have at Community Board 2 to help with outreach throughout the district to actually help people find employment. And also, I attended the Affordable Housing 101 Citywide Community Board training. That was, I believe, yesterday. And I was bouncing back and forth between the two. So the two meetings that we had. The other one that we had also was the 10-year plan. So that's been my report right now. Any questions?
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill?
Yeah, I just, what meeting did you say you attended yesterday? You're on mute, I think, Bill.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I attended the Affordable Housing meeting, 101. Okay, it was basically to educate community board members about the affordable housing opportunities throughout the area, the different programs. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Bill? Great, thank you, Bill. Next committee to report, Health, Environment, and Social Services.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brandon Smith. I'm the chair of Health, Environment, and Social Services. Well, we still have no vice chair on our committee. I am delightful to be always assisted by Jessica Thurston, who is secretary of our committee as well as of the board and assists us quite a bit. I want to report on our meeting from last week, which was another really great meeting focused on health equity within the community district and beyond. As always, we had a presentation from our public committee member, Mr. Newmark, who reported on COVID-19 statistics and the status of where we are with vaccinations to date. As has been a trend, the Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhoods, and really particularly the zip code 11205 has been a little bit behind in terms of the vaccination rates. So we had some discussion about that, and we also had a discussion about some of the more newer issues that have been coming up, which is people not showing up for their appointments and people not showing up for appointment number 2 in the course of the vaccinations. We were delighted to be joined by Ms. Blackshear from the Borough President's office at the meeting, and who made us aware of several upcoming vaccination pop-ups that are going on in the community. And we had a discussion as a committee about some of the natural questions that come up around that. So that was a very good part of our committee meeting, just to discuss that and encourage anybody interested to come to our meetings in the future to get an update on the monthly basis with COVID-19. Secondly, we had a presentation which we were very grateful for Ms. Church to have organized for us, where we had a presentation from a business called Resilient Mom. Resilient Mom is a service that works with hospitals to really combat childhood and infant mortality and maternal mortality by partnering with the hospitals to attract expectant mothers through a smartphone app and linked social media to provide services of the nature of peer-to-peer counseling, support, and things that may not be so apparent if you're not an expert in the area, but if you go through it, it is something that is very, very necessary. And certainly from our study of the concept of premature birth and its incidence within the African American community, it seems to be something that, while we're not saying anything specific to this business, it's something that we would like to see more of in terms of the prevalence of support for expectant mothers, and hoping to do whatever we can to reduce the incidences of maternal mortality and premature birth. So I think it was a great presentation and something that we can definitely take forward into our district needs conversations in terms of where to allocate certain priorities. So that was great, and really timely and a great presentation. Thirdly, we were delighted to be joined by Ms. Betty Feibusch, the chair of the Youth Education Cultural Affairs Committee. And for those of you who are not aware, we've been planning and working towards a joint project with the Youth Education Cultural Affairs Committee focused on childhood asthma and steps that we can take to provide awareness and reduce its incidence within our community. So to that end, we are aiming to have a joint meeting in the near future, which will feature a doctor from NYU Langone who has presented to us at our December 2020 meeting about asthma and his interest in promoting awareness of it. He is an asthmatic himself and has agreed to help try to promote the awareness through the schools, as well as through this program that Ms. Feibusch came across from the American Lung Association, where they work with the children in the schools who have asthma to get them on a targeted plan of life steps to ensure that they're doing the right things to reduce the possibilities of an incident or hospitalization. This all comes from several years ago, where the community health profile from the New York City Department of Health indicated that someone in our district is 8 times more likely to require hospitalization for childhood asthma than somebody in South Brooklyn, for example. So it's a very timely and great issue. Keep an eye out for the special meeting that gets scheduled. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but it will be coming in the future. And believe it or not, we did more. We had 5 liquor licenses that we heard before our committee, and this time there was no community concern that was expressed about any of the liquor licenses. No community members showed up, but we had a lot of discussions about shortening outdoor seating hours to best deal with the surrounding neighborhood and not provide a disturbance. So we approved all the liquor licenses. It was a really successful meeting, and we're always first Wednesday of the month, and encourage anybody interested in our topics to check it out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Brandon. Any questions for Mr. Smith?
Yes, Brandon, can that asthma and other discussion, is that appropriate also for the CB2 websites?
It may be at a point in the future once it get. I think that I'm not going to speak as the proprietor of the website, but I will say that we're in the process of putting together the meeting. I think once we get a meeting date and we get everyone agreed to come and present at the meeting, it's something that we could definitely advertise and promote. And then throughout the process of going through the project as it's going, I think it would absolutely be something that we would want to promote. The goal is to provide these this awareness to and education to parents and staff, and more particularized training and awareness to students via the school nurse in the schools. So it's a rather extensive idea, and another credit to Ms. Masso, who originally suggested this idea, but I think it's absolutely something that we could promote in the future. I hope that addressed your question, John.
Yes, it does. Thank you for that.
Ms. Quint?
Hi, I have a question about the liquor license process, and I know during COVID, applicants aren't required to engage directly with the community. Do we have a sense as to when that might change that requirement? Because I think part of probably why a community isn't showing up is there just isn't as much, engagement with them about the applications.
Oh, I'll let the board office speak to the point as to when the approach to not requiring the gathering of signatures to commence to take place is going to let up. But I will say it was in a way it was an interesting respite, because we've had several meetings recently. In fact, in the last 3 months, we've had robust discussions with numerous community members who come to the committee to discuss their concerns with different establishments. And I found in the course of conversations that we had at those meetings that the folks who were concerned definitely had their opportunity to come and speak and have an impact on our discussions and ultimately our recommendation. So I don't feel like it's necessarily a lack of awareness, although certainly the signature gathering process is a helpful part of the process. Did the board office have anything they wanted to add about that?
No, not at this time. I think what we'll do is we can inquire, get more details. I think anything beyond that, Suzanne, would just be a speculation, and I don't find that helpful. Any other questions for Mr. Smith? Thank you. Next up, Park and Recreation.
Good evening. Thank you, Lenny. Barbara Zoller-Gringer, co-chair, along with Andrew Lastawecki of the committee. And Lenny, I want to follow up with you, take a page out of your playbook, and thank the members of my committee. We don't have a large number of members, but we have a very dedicated group who have a formidable attendance record and are always have great ideas and incisive questions for people who present. So I want to thank each and every one of you, most of whom are here this evening. So I really appreciate that. Then I want to let you know that we are meeting this coming Monday night, and we are having our annual sort of Ask the Parks Department session. So people, we've been preparing questions and submitted questions to the Parks Department. As you can imagine, this year we have a lot of questions, and there will be more questions in person when people get there. So this is everyone's opportunity to hear the latest and greatest from the Parks Department. And as I said, there's been a lot that's been on hold this year, so we want to hear about that. And there are a lot of pending things that are people are very interested in. So that's Monday night. Everyone's invited. We had a very interesting meeting on April 19th. We featured friends groups of various parks and playgrounds, and we heard from 16 Sycamores Playground, the Friends of Hillside Dog Park, the Friends of Kyler Gore, the South Oxford Park Tennis Crew, the Friends of South Oxford Park, the Friends of Golconda Skate Park, the Fort Greene Tennis Association, the Fort Greene Park Conservancy, the Friends of Commodore Barry Park, and Cadman Park Conservancy. And not only did we hear, there were a number of reasons we invited these people to present. First of all, it's very informative to learn about different parks and playgrounds that you may not go to, but are in the district, and you want to learn about them and visit them. It was a great opportunity for these groups to connect and network with each other. We heard a couple of them say, I didn't know you existed, and we're ready to network and to follow up. And we have groups that already are doing that. Commodore Barry Park Friends Group, there's a very young group, but they reported that this year they had worked in conjunction with Cadman Park Conservancy, which is a much longer established entity, and they put together a grant getting funding for replacing some lost New York City park staff, including one part-time worker and a gardener that they're sharing with Fort Greene. So that's terrific. One of the big problems at Fort Greene Park, since it's a very, very utilized park, is they have some park problems with trash removal. And we also, as you might expect, tennis exploded this year because it was viewed as a rather safe activity for people to engage in. And they reported much larger numbers than ever before. And the skate park, again, it's an activity that people can do without, sort of by themselves. We also heard a lot about the needs of each of these parks, and we certainly will be giving those serious consideration when we go over our needs statements. Universally, we heard problems about the need for bathrooms. And one of our very engaged committee members suggested, could porta potties be at least a temporary solution to this problem? And I have to tell you, the response from these members of the different parks was incredible. They were really interested. I think they're going to follow up on that. So I think we feel like we really made a contribution in that regard. Again, the tennis courts, they would love to have lights at night so that it could extend the use of those courts. You don't have to build new ones, just leverage the ones you have and get better use out of them. Kyler Gore, as you've heard before, recently had a visioning session, and it has funding for doing improvements. One of the things they would like is to have a plaque that tells something about Theodore Kyler, who was a Presbyterian minister from a nearby church that was active in the abolitionist movement. The Hillside Dog Park is particularly interested in the impact on that park by the BQE project. They could use tree guards, a tool shed, what else? And so I think it was a very well attended session. People were very interested, and everybody, almost everybody who spoke, lauded the praises of Delancey Nelson, who is from the Partnership for Parks and lends considerable help and support to all of these groups. So we're hoping to see more friends groups, because the friends groups really help these parks. As you know, whatever the Parks Department doesn't have enough resources to provide everything that these parks and playgrounds need. And those who can get together a friends group and provide support and be there and be observant and identify what's going on and advocate, most importantly, for those parks and playgrounds, which are so important to our quality of life. Those who are fortunate to have are fortunate enough to have it get more attention and more sustainability. So if you have any questions, again, we hope to see you on Monday night and at every meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Any questions for Parks? Okay, great. Next committee to report is Transportation and Public Safety.
Good evening. I'm Juliet Collin-Chung, Chair of the Transportation and Public Safety Committee. The Vice Chair is Cheryl Gelbs. Our esteemed Secretary is John Quint, and the new Chair of the committee will be Sydney Meyer. I also want to echo Barbara's comments about the active participation in our committee. We had 100% presence and participation in our committee, no absences, and that is a frequent occurrence. So I would like to thank my colleagues on the committee for that. So last month we had 4 presentations. One of them we've already talked about, that was zoning for transit accessibility, so I won't go into that further. The next one is about the New York City ferry ADA improvements that are currently underway. So Pier 1, as you may have noticed, has been closed for ferry access. It will be closed for, I believe the work started about 2 weeks ago. So it will be closed for 8 to 10 weeks from the time that the construction started. So probably by Independence Day, the work will be done and the ferries will be open again. So what New York City EDC proposed to us, sort of as a fait accompli, described to us as their construction proposal, was that they were moving the ferry terminal from the concrete portion of Brooklyn Bridge Park Pier 1 to the historic wooden Pier 1, where Barge Music is and where the ice cream parlor is. And the committee had several concerns about that relocation. The presentation did not include a 2-scale plan of the queuing arrangements for the ferry, and nor did it include a 2-scale plan of the restaurant operations, which will, both of them will take up a good amount of that historic landing, probably to the extent that public access will be prohibited from that landing. You know, we have since followed up with EDC. We asked them for a 2-scale drawing of that of the proposal, but we were not provided with the same, and I don't expect that we'll get it. So you know, we expressed our concerns, but they're proceeding as they're proceeding. The next presentation that we heard was from Flixbus, which is an intercity bus transit opportunity. They proposed to us 2 locations, and we expressed that that locating near Atlantic Terminal would probably be the best idea in terms of intermodal transit and locating in a very centralized place. The last presentation was from DOT about the addition of a bike lane in the roadbed of the Brooklyn Bridge. So while we applauded DOT for implementing this proposal, we did express concerns about the width of the bike lanes, the lack of the bike lanes on both sides of the bridge, the lack of lighting, the impact on the traffic patterns in the neighborhood, because DOT proposed to limit the right-hand turns from Tillery onto the Brooklyn Bridge, eliminate rather. So we proposed some alternatives. Hopefully DOT will be able to address some of those alternatives in their future planning. But right now it seems that they're proceeding. They're likely to implement this change soon. The Jersey barriers will be going up and we'll have bike lanes, but we are very concerned about the impacts on the traffic in the neighborhood. At our next committee meeting, we'll be hearing about from the Center for Court Innovation, and we'll also be discussing the state district needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. This is John Dew. I just have a follow-up to what Juliet just presented as it relates to the traffic pattern and diversion onto the Brooklyn Bridge. Their solution to that traffic problem was to direct the traffic through Sand Street, which is adjacent to the Fort Greene Public Housing Project. We're all aware that the highest asthma rate is in our community district, and maybe even in the city, is in the Fort Greene Public Housing Project because it is adjacent to the BQE. So this particular suggestion would take up to 600 cars an hour and run them through the Fort Greene Public Housing Project. So that was the basic objection to that particular proposal. And again, this is another example of when a decision is made in Community District 2. They don't reach out to us in advance to understand what the issues are before they come forward with a plan that is not right for the community. That's
Thanks,
enough for
John.
now.
So, as to ask questions in this order, I'm going to take Lindsay and then Bill Flanoy.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. My question, Juliet, is whether you have any knowledge about whether our counterparts on the Manhattan side of the Brooklyn Bridge share our concerns, or if there's any opportunity to coordinate with them to share our concerns with DOT.
Sid looks like he's raising his hand on that.
Sid, you have a question or an answer?
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem on the Manhattan side. It goes right into the bike lane that comes off the bridge. The southbound, the south lane, the lane that's closest to the center, is being taken all the way down and will tie in to where there's a bike lane already on the Manhattan side. It's not a protected bike. It goes into a shared bike lane that's already there. So it makes no change at all on the Manhattan side.
Thanks, Sid. Bill Flanoy.
Thank you. Juliet, on the flip bus, I was looking at the route of that. Is it like a shuttle that's going from Williamsburg through Manhattan? What's the story with that? And what's the cost on that? Is it comparable to a Metro card? What's the story?
It's like Greyhound or the Chinatown buses. It's an intercity transit option. So it's serving like Philadelphia and places in Virginia and DC, and may eventually serve Boston. So right now, most of the intercity transit is happening from Manhattan. So we do support that intercity transit does happen from downtown Brooklyn, but we did want them to take a look at the location of their pickup spot because it would eliminate parking from that location.
And do you have an idea of the cost on that? Or did they say?
They didn't say.
Thank you, Juliet. Next committee to report, Youth Education and Cultural Affairs. In Ms. Fiber's absence is Dorothea Thompson Manning, present to present.
I'm here, Lenny. I did not realize that Barbara was not going to be here tonight, and I have no minutes or anything, so unfortunately I'm unable to report. Sorry about that.
No problem. So let me go back to Mr. Watkins from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. John, are you still on the line? John, I'm gonna try this one more time. Are you still on the line? John Watkins, are you still on the line and maybe you're muted? All right, great. So I'm sure everyone can read through the papers that the district attorney is doing a fantastic job. Before I move on, Mr. Howard, looks like you have your hand up for a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer the question asked before about CB1 Manhattan's concerns. As I attended DOT's presentation to CB1 Manhattan on the Brooklyn Bridge project, their concerns, the three main concerns were bike connectivity on the Manhattan end, reduction in Manhattan-bound car capacity, and walking, biking conflicts on the Manhattan end.
Thank you. So now we're up to item number 9, city agency and community partners. What, again, same categories, the same process or protocol works if you have something to say and you fall in this category. If you would just send a text, send a chat message to the board office, that allows us to get your information and make sure that we recognize you. So with that, let me start with our friends from the Brooklyn Public Library.
Hello, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Chairperson Singletary, and to the entire community board too, for allowing us to speak tonight and for your continued support of the Brooklyn Public Library. My name is RTeimann, and I represent the Brooklyn Heights branch of the Brooklyn Public Library. And a few of my other colleagues will be speaking right after me. The Brooklyn Heights branch currently is offering lobby service with holds pickup and book returns from the new Center for Brooklyn History from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday at 128 Pierpont Street, which is what we'll be doing until we have our new branch in the fall. We are entering into several branches, 13 to be exact, including Central Branch. We'll be entering into phase 4, which will be allowing for limited browsing and limited computer use, but I will let some other of my colleagues speak to that as they are moving into phase 4. Summer reading is going to be starting soon. It begins on June 3rd and runs through August 31st. It'll look a little different this year, but it's going to be quite personal, actually. The theme this year is read what you love what you read. And the idea is to just read what makes you happy, what makes you excited, what makes you engaged after such a difficult year. And we're really pushing our book match service this year. And book match is a service run by Brooklyn Public Library librarians, and you can access it via our website. I'll drop a link into the chat, and you can let them know what some of your reading interests are, what genres you like, what authors you like, what you're interested in trying if you want something new. And they'll curate a personalized book list for you and also let you know why they chose those titles. And they'll get back to you within a week or two. So we're really pushing that service this year. And we'll be having a big kickoff on June 3rd on a Thursday, so we don't have as many crowds. And there'll be a high school music group traveling around Brooklyn they'll be traveling, but there'll be a flatbed truck that they'll be singing from at a few branches throughout the city to sort of engage the community. And we'll be having several virtual programs and a few in-person outdoor programs as we branch out into that. And speaking to that, we are very excited to be launching some outdoor programs starting on May 19th. Brooklyn Heights branch, in conjunction with the Brooklyn Bridge Park and with the Adams Street Library and Annex, my colleague KSavage and I are going to be doing story times outdoors in the park starting May 19th every 2 weeks, and we'll be alternating between Pier 3 Greenway Terrace, where I'll be doing story times for Brooklyn Heights, and the John Street Lawn, where KSavage will be doing these story times representing the Annex. And those will be capped at registration, and we will be masked with social distancing. So it'll be smaller than years past, but we're really excited to be able to see those kids in person after all this time. And finally, we'll be doing a play reading, virtual play reading this Saturday at the Brooklyn Heights branch with Theater 2020, a local theater group in Brooklyn Heights that some of you may know. So you can check out the event listing there, and I'll drop that all in the chat. Thank you so much. And I'll send it off to Tracy, my colleague.
And I would like to announce that Clinton Hill has actually moved into stage 4. Starting on Monday, this past Monday, you can come in and browse the branch. You're limited to an hour, but everyone's been walking out with lots of books well before the hour is up. You can also book computer appointments. You can call the branch at 718-398-8713. I'll put that in the chat. Or you can do a walk-in and book a 30-minute computer session. Once that's over, you can book a second 30-minute computer session. And we're also doing printing on demand, so you can send through your prints remotely from a laptop or a phone or a tablet and come into the branch and release them. Our Friends group is going to be having an outside craft fair. It's third craft fair on June 19th, and that will be in front of the branch, and I'll put that in the chat also. But we're hoping that people will come in and browse and say hi and walk out with lots of books. We're really happy to see people back browsing, and everyone seems happy to be back with us. And now I'm going to turn this over to another one of my colleagues.
It's me. Thank you, Tracy. My name is Kat, and I'm the managing librarian at the Adams Street Library and Annex. And I'm here just to mention that we are at 1 John Street Monday, Wednesday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. So if you have not had a chance to come visit us, we're right off the park entrance in the 1 John Street building. So please do stop by. We have a little outdoor browsing area, and we're doing the grab and go pickup. In addition, I'm really excited. We have a lovely grab and go craft for both adults as well as children. It is an origami kit. So if you have not availed yourself of practicing this Japanese art form, please stop by and pick up a kit. And that is in recognition of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I also wanted to mention we have a couple virtual programs this month. I know that my friend Richard Morrow is on the call, and in collaboration with the Red Cross of Greater New York, we're doing a hands-only CPR class tomorrow. There's no certification, but it'll be a great brush up if you haven't gone over this, or if you've never really thought about how you can help in an emergency. It's going to be a fantastic free class. I'll drop the link. Also on May 25th, Ms. Jade, one of the amazing drag queen storytelling performers, is going to do a Zoom interactive story hour. She's going to be focusing on the on BIPOC experiences and books of that theme. I'm also excited to mention that in collaboration with the Dumbo Improvement District, on Thursday evenings throughout the summer, the Adams Street Library will be presenting a wide variety of family programming in person under the archway at Anchorage Place. So more info to come, stay tuned. I know that the Improvement District has plans to formally announce that, but because this is Community Board 2, I wanted to give a little sneak preview to all of you. And now I am so excited because I'm actually turning it over to my colleague Bailey Vidovich, who is the Managing Librarian at the Walt Whitman branch.
Thanks, Kat. Yeah, so I'm actually in my 3rd week of being the branch manager. So brand new world, but I've been at this branch for 2.5 years. So just glad to still be working in this awesome district. So coming up, we are pushing into the street. We're going to be having street barriers put in front of our branch at 93 St. Edward Street. So we're going to be having this cool little seating outdoors, and we're going to be doing some outdoor programming around that. It's going to be super fun. That starts in the beginning of June. We are currently doing outdoor laptop loans on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and that's for 2 hours a day. Anybody can come and use a laptop for up to an hour. And no reservation is necessary for that. We have a big event happening on June 5th in the Fort Greene Park. We are doing this event called Beyond the Branches. Librarians from all over the region are going to be coming, and we'll have the bookmobile. We're going a little bit something for everybody. Story times, giant bubbles. We'll have the bookmobile there. We have library card services, grab and go kits for children, teens, and adults. So be sure to stop by. That is 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on June 5th with a rain date of June 12th. And that's going to be on the corner of Myrtle Ave and Washington Park. On June 11th, we are hosting a virtual event, Birds, Bees, and Trees, Ecology of New York City, with local legend Leslie Day. She's a scientist and author who has done a lot of work documenting the local flora and fauna. So that's going to be in conjunction with the Naval Cemetery landscape. And so that's going to be on Zoom. I can have more information for that later. And we go into step 4 on June 7th. We're in the next wave. So as of right now, we don't have limited browsing, but we will in 3 weeks or so. All right. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Thank you, and glad that we have a full representation at all of our branches within Community District 2. And to Bailey, welcome, or thank you for being reacquainted. Whatever's the appropriate description, we're glad to have you aboard. Any questions for the library before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on. So next up we have Ethan from the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. I'm going to speak about some programming for the yard, both virtual and something that's coming up in person, and then also introduce a new colleague of mine. But the first thing I wanted to mention has to do with COVID. You are some of the first to hear this news, as this just launched this week. We are partnering with the New York City Health and Hospitals Test and Tracing Corps, and we have a site now at the yard. If you come to Building 92, which you may know as our visitor center or our museum, that's at 63 Flushing Ave, which is at the corner of Flushing and Carlton. You can come 7 days a week. The center is open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the testing is on a walk-in basis. No proof of insurance is required, no ID is required, and the testing is quick, painless, and the results are available within 3 days. So this is free PCR testing at the yard. Come on down to Building 92, which is 63 Flushing Ave. We have 2 dates that we're not going to offer testing, and that is Saturday, May 22nd, and Sunday, May 23rd. There was a previous event scheduled there, but other than that, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come on down. Other than getting vaccinated, mask and social distancing, obviously testing and tracing is the best way we can extinguish this virus. Moving on to programming, we're continuing on with some virtual programming as the health situation improves. The first thing I'd like to talk about is just NYC by Design. That's coming up this week and next. We're partnering with NYC by Design. Normally these are in person. You can come to the yard and go inside the space of a designer or a maker. But because of health protocols, we're just keeping it virtual this year. However, we have some great programming. On Monday, May 17th is the signature event. Monday, May 17th at 5 p.m. I'm going to put this in the chat and everyone can register. All these events I'm going to mention are free. You just need to register in advance. The first one is with Smart Design. They're one of the newest companies at the yard. You may know them because they design all the OXO or OXO products that some of you have in your kitchen. And so we're really excited about them coming to the yard. And this talk with them is called Innovating Today for Tomorrow. So that's Monday the 17th at 5 p.m. You can register for that. Secondly, they're coming into Building 27, which is one of the recently finished rehabs on the yard. Amazing building, beautiful. And actually the yard architect and our project manager, Rosario D'Urso, he's giving a talk this Thursday at 11 a.m. about Building 127 called Renovation and Reinvention Building 127. And the last one for NYC by Design is Sunday, May 16th at 2 o'clock. You can jump on again for free with Bednark Studio. It's behind the scenes in Bednark Studio. They're a custom fabrication company at the yard, have scaled at the yard, which is cool. They might not talk about it. Normally they're an architectural millwork and again, custom fabrication for a lot of retail settings. But they also pivoted during COVID and did about 6,000 dividers, plastic dividers for taxi cabs and ride shares. So we had a lot of taxis coming into the yard to make sure to get that plastic divider to protect the driver and the riders. The second program I just want to talk briefly about is Taste of the Yard. I didn't see Oscar, and I believe on the roll call he wasn't mentioned, and I say that because this series is 21 plus. This is a great way to meet yard businesses from home. Taste of the Yard has 2 yard businesses combining on a food pairing and a beverage. The first episode, which is, again, if you click that link, you can go to the Taste of the Yard series, is Kings County Distillery and Jalapa Jar, and they're doing a breakfast taco and a moonshine margarita. So again, I'm glad Oscar's not on for the moonshine margarita, but the rest of you, 21 plus, can enjoy that series, and there'll be more episodes coming soon. And the last one I wanted to talk about, I mentioned last time, Creative History is our new workshop for kids. Season 1 has now 2 episodes. The third one launches on Friday. Let me just put the link for that as well in. That's where yard artists teach the kids at home about an object that's important in the yard history, and then they walk kids through how to draw that object. So that will be first season, again, is drawing history, and then season 2 will be painting history. And so far, the artists, if you know any of the art artists, Hannah Antelik did episode 1, Nick Golubuski did episode 2, and episode 3 is Jackie Meyer, and that's the one that launches on Friday. Just a great way for the kids to keep up from home with some history of the art and also some art skills. And then the last thing I'll talk about is Elegy. That's our beginning. We're starting in-person programming again here. The link is there in the chat. We still have tickets available, again, free. You just have to register for this Thursday, May 13th, between 11 and 1:30. May 20th, that's a Thursday as well, between 6 and 8:10. And Saturday, May 22nd is the last time you can go, which is 6 to 8 at night. You'll spend about 10 minutes with the artist, Tracy Wushbard. You can come see at this is all at Building 92, and see her installation. It's a giant modeled after a prayer flag, and just a way to have some remembrance of the past year, spend some time with an artist. And also we are opening the Building 92 Museum for people who come. That's been closed by COVID, and so this will be the first time it'll be reopening if you want to see the museum at Building 92. So I guess just to bring it full circle, come on down and get a test at Building 92 to stay healthy. You can also attend that in-person program at 92 Elegy, and then keep in touch with us virtually. Things are coming back on the yard. Kings County Distillery is running tours again. Rooftop Reds is open. Transmitter at Building 77. So come, I would say eat, drink, and be merry, but I'll say eat, drink, and take the ferry, because we have that too. So I will now turn it over to my new colleague, Jeffrey Velasquez. He is the new Director of Community and Government Relations. And Jeffrey, if you'd like to say a few words, if you're on camera, folks can put a face to a name, and also your contact information in the chat as well for folks.
Thanks, Ethan. I just want to say thank you for the introduction. I know that we're winding down in the meeting, but I'm new to the yard, just like my colleague said, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone at the community board, and hopefully we could see each other in person, and I'll be making my rounds soon. So a pleasure to sit in this nice meeting, and I look forward to our work together. And I'm gonna put my contact information in the chat as well.
So Jeffrey, welcome aboard. Thank you for participating. We look forward to engaging with you in the future, either virtually or in person. Hopefully virtually never goes away now that we see the value of it, but thank you. So just before we move on to the next community representative, I want to announce that if you are on the call and you are a member of the community, and when we get to agenda item number 11, with community forum, please begin to start putting your information in the chat so that we know that you want to speak and we can call upon you. I remind you, 2 minutes is your speaking time. And given that it's 8:24, I'm going to be really particular about holding you to 2 minutes. So if I offend you in advance, I apologize, but it will be 2 minutes. The next person to speak is
Excuse me, Mr.
Richard
Chairman.
Muro, Richard Muro from the Red Cross.
Let's see, we're on. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Morrow, and I'm the Greater New York Red Cross Community Relations Ambassador for Community Board 2. You might all remember about a month ago, there was an 8-alarm fire in Jackson Heights, Queens. It was an all-hands-on-deck situation, so my duties were changed last month in order to assist in helping the 500 families who were affected by the blaze. We continue to offer many of these families help and guidance. At this moment around the country, the Red Cross is helping in 62 disaster relief operations. 52 of these operations run the whole coast, East Coast, extending into the Great Lakes, over the Rockies. It's amazing. But right now there are fire disaster areas on watch for Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico, with Georgia and South Carolina on elevated watch. California is now fire alert due to the serious drought condition. In the last 7 days, the Greater New York Red Cross has helped 121 adults, 25 children, and assisted in 51 local disasters. I've come to realize that the Red Cross is a refuge in the worlds of crisis and disaster. We provide food, shelter, medical, psychological, and personal assistance for the immediate and long-term needs of the people we assist. I wanted to remind you that today is International Nurses Day. It's always celebrated on May 12th in honor of Florence Nightingale's birthday. If you know a nurse, give him or her a big hug today. It's their day. Our website, redcross.org, to our free virtual training courses can help you better protect your family and community. Please check out our website. I want to wish Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim neighbors, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Now I'm going to try this one more time. If this doesn't work, and I mean this with as much sincerity as I can, JWatkins, you will get your opportunity tonight. JWatkins, are you
All right,
here?
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I can. Go.
Oh my goodness! At last. Sorry all about the technical issues I've been having.
It's okay. Just
very
go.
quick.
Go. It's okay.
All right.
Go.
First of all, DA Gonzalez wishes everyone this past week a wonderful Mother's Day. He appreciates all of the service that they do for our families. The DA's headquarters is now being restaffed on a gradual basis so that more services can be restored to the community. Next, the DA's has had 2 press conferences this past week. The first for a gang arrest related to some murders that occurred in Brooklyn last July involving disputes between gang members. The second is the arrest of an attorney in Sunset Park who was doing some fraudulent activity. One other thing is the gun buyback program that the DA is having on May 22nd. That's a Saturday from 10 to 2 o'clock p.m. The location is 90 Watkins Street, of all names, in the Howard Houses. And lastly, and finally, the DA's high school internship program, which begins on May 25th. That's the deadline, May 25th. And the information can be found at brooklyndA.org/internships. Thank you so much for your indulgence. Thank you and good night.
John, you're welcome. Do me a favor. Would you repeat the date and the location of the gun buyback program?
Absolutely. That gun buyback program is Saturday, May 22nd, 10 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. And the address will be 90 Watkins Street, and that's at the Howard Houses in Brooklyn.
Excellent. Keep up the great work. Give our best to the district attorney.
I shall do that. Thank you.
I have one quick issue for Mr. Watkins.
John, hold on for me, please. It's 8:30. I want to move this along. I'm not trying to have an hour meeting. If you could just communicate with Mr. Watkins offline, if you would.
Talk to me about gang activity in the Fort Greene Public Housing Project. That's it.
Yeah, but could you do that offline? Just shoot him an email, because I know you've been a real proponent of that. But if you could just shoot him offline so we can get other people to communicate through the next 2 items, that would be great.
I'm done with that.
Thank you. So item number 10, community board business. Are there board members who have other business they'd like to discuss this evening?
Are you going to discuss the planning together, There were 2 meetings.
Actually, we were going to hold that to the next meeting, if it's okay, because we wanted to get a chance to take the minutes, because there were minutes compiled, and be able to share that with everyone so they have a chance to review that.
Fine.
Okay, perfect. Any other board members who have open items they'd like to discuss at this time?
Not an item, but just want to give Karen Johnson, our public member for the Landmark Land Use Committee, our best for the work that she's been doing. She doesn't come to these meetings, the general meetings, since she's not a full member, but I just wanted to make that record known that Karen Johnson has really been working hard to keep our minutes coming.
We got it. Today is National CB2 Secretary Day. We got it. No more accolades. We got it. We got it. Any other business? No accolades, no celebration. It's a National CB2 Secretary Day. I got it. Any other business that we want to discuss? Excellent. Moving to item number 11, community forum. I see that there is a member of the community. I believe the name is Stephen Williams. Mr. Williams, if I pronounced your name correctly, great. If I didn't, I apologize. And the floor is yours. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. My name is Stephen Williams. I represent the Accessible Dispatch Program. This is a program that connects the community to wheelchair accessible taxis. And this is fantastic since the city is reopening. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These cars can safely secure a wheelchair. The drivers are trained in wheelchair securement, so you're safe. The drivers wear a mask. You can access service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can get on-demand service, or you can book your service in advance. You can access the service through our website, through our mobile app, or calling our 24-hour dispatch center. I will email to your office flyers that you can share with the rest of your committee members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, do you have the board office email address?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can I ask a couple of things? One, if you have any information that you'd like to share, please let the board office know, and we can make sure we can continue to circulate that to our distribution. And I think the work that you're doing is important, and we'd be happy to make sure that we can support you. If there's any initiatives we need to put out there, we're offering our services to do so. I think that's a very important and well-needed initiative. So thank you for leading that.
Thank you, Mrs. Singletary. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I don't see any other speakers in the chat, but let me take a minute to say anyone that's of the community, if you don't have a chance, didn't have a chance to get to the chat for any kind of technical issues, please speak up now, and then we'll give you the 2 minutes to speak. We check in because the last time, and I don't want to single anyone out, Pastor Zach had some technical difficulties, and he had some important information he wanted to share. I want to make sure we don't miss him if he's on tonight. Okay, great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Everyone have a good evening.
Not quite.
To all of you who have children, thank you for participating. For all of you who have wonderful pets, thank you for showing the pets. I love the pets. And again, please note that today is National CB2 Secretary Day. Have a good night, everyone. Get home safe.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Have a good day, sir. Have a good day.